Hello, and welcome to the Confessions from the Car podcast, the place where we unpack the complexities of being raised by an emotionally immature parent. And frankly, we unpack the things that you are probably most likely only to say while you're alone in your car. I'm your host, Courtney, and today we're going to get into a doozy of an episode. The episode that preceded this one is called How to Lose Your Daughter, Part 1. Well, ladies and gentlemen, today we are delving into how to lose your daughter, part 2. In the first edition of this two-part series, we read and discussed a letter from a woman by the name of Edie. And Edie's story is highly relatable for those of us who come to this podcast with the knowledge, with the bone-deep knowing of the utter and complete madness and crazy-making that is being raised by an emotionally immature parent. A lot of us could relate to Edie. We could relate to the frustration, to the feeling as if you are not your own person, that you exist to either therapize, to be the best friend of, to be the rescuer emotionally of your parent, not being able to be understood, to get through to your parent when you try to explain the weight of their expectations, all of that. Edie unpacks all this. I'm not going to go and read this letter. I have it right here. It's 5 pages long. I highly, highly recommend that you go back and watch the episode before this one before diving into this current episode. Although it will make sense, I think this part 2 I designed to kind of wrap a bow around and really delve into the issues that Edie shared in her letter. So my apologies for glancing off to the side, because I had some very specific language that I wanted to include in today's podcast, and I did not want to omit that when I started recording. The gist of Edie's letter is that I'm just going to read the first paragraph. I can't believe I'm here. I can't believe I'm at a point where I've come to the realization that my nervous system is calmer and my life is more peaceful without my mother in it. Those are very strong words. And let me just, before I even delve into everything, I feel the need to say this for those who have stumbled upon this particular podcast and don't know this experience of having been raised by an emotionally immature parent. I need to reiterate this. I'm seeing this now in the interwebs, and I'm seeing this on social media, but I need to double down and really make something abundantly clear. People like Edie don't say something like that. They don't contemplate the heaviness, the weight of having to cut ties with the person who brought them into this world. They don't do this overnight. They don't do this on a whim. They don't do this because they saw something on TikTok or something on Instagram and said, you know what? I think I'm gonna cut off my parent. I'm gonna cut off my mother. I'm gonna go no contact with my mother or father. That is not how it works. I cannot tell you how laborious, how heavy, how monumental the decision is. And it's not just one thing. I guarantee you that by the time that someone uses the language that Edie has used, they've probably tried nearly everything. Talking to them in 50 million different ways, acquiescing, and every time they acquiesce, losing a bit of themselves in order to keep some semblance of a relationship with their parent. Therapy, books, all these books you see, these are the ones I've read, these are the ones I've written. It's not something that just happens on a whim. And I also want to push back on those who say, well, these adult children are abandoning their parent. Newsflash. A child, even an adult child, cannot abandon a parent. Only the parent can abandon. And I guarantee that 9 times out of 10, the emotional abandonment happened at the hands of the parent long before the adult child decided to take distance as a means of self-preservation. No one does this unless they've come to the point mentally and emotionally where they have to choose themselves or the parent. I just needed to make that clear. Secondly, I've said this before and I'll continue to say this. I'm not a therapist, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a licensed coach, but I am a person who knows in their bones how it feels to repeatedly, in a sense, bang your head against the wall to try to communicate to your parent how their relationship can be saved and still be met with nothing. I know what Edie feels like, as do many of you listening and watching. I know you know. And so I come to you today and every week, not as a person who claims to have all these accolades, not that there's absolutely anything wrong with being a psychologist, a therapist, a counselor. Hell, we need more of those in this world. But I'll tell you what else we need. We need people who have walked in our shoes. We need people who have the unique experience of being able to raise awareness on these issues because they've lived it. And we need people who have, after they've lived it, have subsequently decided to tell their stories, to erase the stigma, to set the record straight, and to validate the people who have for so very long thought something was wrong with them. And so, I can't remember where I heard this, but it's very apropos. I have to share this now. Oh, I do know. It's Lindsay Gibson. Lindsay Gibson, who is the author of Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents. I believe that's like the magnum opus that literally cracked me open when I read it in 2020. Look it up, read it if you have not already. But she says, there is no way that you can reason. I'm paraphrasing because the exact quotation escapes me, but if someone is committed to misunderstanding you, if they don't want to understand you, they won't. You can say anything 5 times till Sunday or whatever, however the phrase goes. You can word it gently. You can do Morse code and not. You can do whatever. They're not going to hear you. If they don't want to hear you, the problem, the roadblock is not your delivery. It's not your delivery. It's they don't want to hear the message. If they don't want to hear the message, there is no amount of reorganizing or laying it down gently. None of that matters. And that's what a lot of these parents, a lot of these adult children, including Edie, have experienced firsthand. Okay, now that I got this out of the way, taking into account Edie's letter during the first episode, I thought about this for a while. I really thought, how can I tie a bow around the first edition of, or the first part of How to Lose Your Daughter, Part 1? How can I crystallize this anymore? Edie's letter is beautifully written, it's eloquent, it's to the point, it is identifiable, it is relatable. But the letter was very long and very detailed, and so I felt like just reading the letter and then moving on to another topic in the next podcast didn't seem just. So I'm back today with How to Lose Your Daughter Part 2, and what I've decided, trigger warning, ladies and gentlemen, trigger warning. I'm going to tell you 7 things to do if you want to lose your daughter. And my purpose in this, obviously, is not to trigger you. I'm giving you the disclaimer, though. So now, run now, hit pause, run now, and get your fuzzy socks, your weighted blanket, your comfy snacks, all that stuff. Because I gather that what I say to you, although it may induce you to wince a little bit, I think the overwhelming come away for most, if not all of you, I hope all of you, is that you feel validated. Because once you are an adult child, once you are a man or a woman in your own right, an individuated woman or man, when you come out of the fog, out of the fear, obligation, and guilt, and you look back at what you have experienced and you think, holy shit, I wasn't imagining any of this. This was really that bad. And so it takes some distance and it takes some time for you to actually realize that what you endured, what you went through was real. Because for so long it was quote unquote normal. And what I really, really want to drive home with this podcast series is that what's normal is not necessarily synonymous with what's healthy. Okay? Normal, we all hope is healthy. But if you grew up in the environment of emotional, physical, or sexual abuse, your normal was dysfunctional, toxic, and damaging. And particularly for those who have experienced the fate of emotional abuse, it's really covert. A lot of it is couched and camouflaged with love, but it's anything but. So I think that does a double doozy on you because there are no scars. And some of the infractions and some of the manipulation is hiding in plain sight. And a lot of society is still like blind and deaf to it. And so that's what I wanted to, make space for in this podcast. I wanted this to be a safe space for people to come. You can find, there's so many different avenues for healing and find the one that works for you. There's many, there's somatic, there's therapy. Hey, I don't frown on any of them. But before we can get to that, there's so many of us who are still in the fog. Still so many of us are like, did I really experience what I just experienced? Because before you can fix it, you've got to acknowledge it. You absolutely cannot heal what you don't name. And so we're going to embark on this list. 7 things. Okay, let's go. I don't want to keep you here all day. We're already like 12 minutes in, and that was way longer than I wanted to go. All right, so the first thing is this. If you want to lose your daughter, number one, you have to treat her as an extension of yourself. Do you hear me, mothers and fathers? Your daughter is not an individual, autonomous person. You must treat her almost as if you would an appliance. She's your Keurig, she's your toaster, she's your blender, she's your vacuum. Okay, that's what your daughter is. She exists to placate your whims. She exists to serve as your makeshift therapist. She exists to be your best friend. She exists to be your emotional dumpster. She exists to prop up and shore up your self-esteem and make you feel smart, attractive, all of the things that you somehow have not been able to find within yourself. That's your daughter's job. She's not a person. She's an appliance. So that's number one. Number two, you must approach her with a sense of ownership. She's not just a Keurig, a toaster, or a blender. She's your Keurig, your toaster, and your blender. And you have to approach her with a sense of ownership, which means that you frown upon her having friends. You frown upon her taking a mate. You frown upon the relationships that she has with anyone other than you. That includes her children. You must take precedence because you own her. That's 1, 2. Extension, treat her as an appliance, sense of ownership, number 2. Now, number 3 is very, very close to 1 and 2. But number 3, now we're going to throw in parental alienation. So if you're a mother and you want to lose your daughter, you make her father persona non grata. If you're the father, you make sure she better well damn knows that she can't continue a relationship with the other parent. She's got to pick one. Actually, she doesn't. She has to pick you. And if she doesn't, you need to let her know that you will rescind and withdraw your love and affection. Parental alienation, that's number 3. Now, if you do 1, 2, and 3, over time, there is a very good chance that your daughter is going to start to build up enormous resentment for you. Now, if your eyes are open, you'll probably be able to see it or sense it, depending on how long down the road this goes. If your daughter's, 30s, 40s, 50s, the signs will be there. You won't notice them, of course, because she's your appliance. Do you ever notice when your, toaster's not having a good day? No. So the signs will be there. But if you continue to do 1, 2, and 3 and don't stop, now we're at number 4. The number 4 is that your daughter is probably going to be this close to breaking emotionally. And the amount of resentment she will develop towards you will be almost maddening. And it will at times feel like it's going to swallow her whole. I know. That's what it'll feel like. It'll feel like the resentment and the anger she feels towards you will almost feel like at times it will overcome her. It will overtake her, almost like an ocean, a tide that she has no hope of fighting. That's what it'll feel like to be in a relationship with you if you do 1, 2, and 3. Now, it's going to take a substantial amount of time, and it's going to take a substantial amount of courage for your daughter to find the language to share this with you. And if she does this, I can't speak for every adult daughter, but I have it on good authority that if she comes to you bearing her soul with this kind of pain and vulnerability, the purpose of this is not to make you feel like shit, although you're going to feel like shit, because why wouldn't you feel like shit when your daughter comes to you and says, you know what, I'm suffocated by you. You're going to feel like shit, but I have to tell you that's not her intention. Her intention is for you to stop the behavior that is creating a larger and larger divide between the two of you. That is her way of waving the white flag. That is the way of her, waving a flag for SOS. That's what she hopes to obtain by bringing this to you, by baring her soul and saying, listen, if we are to continue as mother and daughter, some changes need to be made. But chances are, if you've done 1, 2, and 3, when she comes to you with this vulnerability, you're going to take it from her, smash it on the ground, and take your heel and pulverize it into a pile of dust. Because chances are, if you do 1, 2, and 3, I'll tell you what else you're going to do. You're going to deny. You're going to deflect. Well, you weren't perfect either. You weren't a perfect daughter. I guess I'm just the worst parent ever. I'm the worst mother ever. And I'll tell you what else you don't do. You don't apologize. If you're a mother who wants to run away your daughter, who wants to essentially kill whatever semblance of a relationship you have with your daughter, you don't ever, ever apologize. Don't do it. You do, number 1, you treat her as an extension. You approach her with a sense of ownership. You completely try your best to alienate her from the other parent. And you do it unabashedly. And you don't apologize for it, ever. That's number 4. Let's move on to number 5. If you do all of the above, I'm not going to say it's a sure bet, but it's a high possibility that your daughter will want to go low, if not no, contact. Now, all you have to do is peruse the communities of Reddit, raised by borderlines, raised by narcissists, the enmeshment thread. I've been on them all. And you'll see a really sobering and saddening realization. A lot of adult children, daughters and sons, are still fighting this fight of trying to rightfully individuate and rightfully assert their independence from their parent in their 50s, in their 60s, in their 70s. Imagine being 70 years old. Like, you don't know how much time any of us has left, but at 70, don't you think that you have earned the right to peace, to autonomy, to freedom? Imagine being 70 years old where you have worked like a dog all your life, raised your children, done a whole host of stuff to contribute to society, and you are still an emotional hostage to your parent. Imagine that. And that's the reality of many sons and daughters well into their 70s. But a lot of us are waking up. A lot of us don't want to wait until they're 50, 60, 70 80, 90, until they have one foot in the grave and realize that they have spent their whole damn life placating a person who is a black hole of need. A lot of us are saying, nope, can't do it. They cash in their chips far earlier than that, and they go no contact. So if you are a mother who is on the receiving end of no contact, I'll tell you what you want to do to continue to lose your daughter. You double down. If she says or goes no contact, you pursue her harder. And if there's grandchildren involved, you try to get your hands on the grandchildren to try to serve as your emotional support animals when you realize that your daughter will no longer give you the emotional supply that you so desperately need. You go for her children. That's what you do. You remain in a cloud of denial. And the harder or the more steadfast she is in maintaining distance, you pursue her even harder. You pursue her harder than when you were quote unquote in the relationship. Do that. If you want to lose your daughter, do that. Now we're almost at the end of our list, and I kind of slid in there number 6, and that is to make a play for the grandchildren. I can't tell you enough how much Kate Gray, I believe, Kate Gray, Codependency Kate, said it so eloquently in one of her podcasts that there can be no rightful, fruitful relationship with grandchildren until a parent makes amends with the adult child first. You don't get to hop, skip, and over your adult child and make a move for the grandchildren as a quote unquote part 2, as a do-over. And I'm in the process of developing a podcast episode about why emotionally immature parents, why they seek that sweet, sweet supply of children. There's a specific reason, a lot of research behind it actually. And if you are if you are an adult child of an emotionally immature parent or parents and you have children, I know you know what I'm talking about. We'll get to that in another episode. But children aim to please. They're dependent. Their primary, not even goal, but their primal need is to attach to their caregiver because they understand that without their caregiver, they won't survive. So they are fresh, fertile ground for emotionally immature mothers and fathers who are seeking comfort, guidance, and control over a small, defenseless human being. And grandchildren fit the perfect bill. Different story for another day. But number 7, this is the last item on our list. We're in 23 minutes in and I want to make this really quick. Okay, the last thing that you want to do if you are a mother or father who wants to lose their daughter, here's what you do. This is number 7. This is a big one. You need to enlist flying monkeys. For those of you who have not heard the term of flying monkeys, a flying monkey is an individual who has been recruited by a narcissist, an abuser, an emotionally immature parent. And the purpose of the flying monkey is to bolster the narrative and victimhood of the parent, right? So the parent runs to the flying monkey and says, "Oh, my daughter or son has abandoned me. They've done this, they've done this, they've done this." And of course, conveniently enough, the parent is going to omit all of the things that led their adult daughter or son to skedaddle. I guarantee you, all that will be omitted. But what the flying monkey does is the flying monkey provides a comforting audience for the parent's victimhood. There might be some gossip in there. There might be some smear campaigning. But again, at this point, if the parent cannot control the adult daughter or son, they will try to control how the adult son or daughter is viewed by others. enter the flying monkey. And a lot of times the flying monkeys don't necessarily know they've been recruited for nefarious reasons. Sometimes they're genuinely concerning people, but a lot of times they're also bored and need gossip and have nothing going on either. So it can go either way. But at the end of the day, the flying monkey is essentially an agent of the parent, and their only purpose is to feed that parent's victimhood by any means necessary. Okay, so what do we have here? Number 1, how to lose your daughter. This is part 2 of this series. View her as an extension of yourself. Attach a sense of ownership to her will be number 2. Number 3, practice parental alienation. Number 4, don't apologize for any of the above. Number 5, pursue your daughter if she decides to go low or no contact. Number 6, if your daughter has children, make a play for the grandchildren. And number 7, enlist flying monkeys. But, okay, triggered portion of the episode concluded. What do you do if you want to fix everything? Well, you do the opposite of everything I just said. You don't treat her as an extension or an appliance or your own personal Keurig sitting on your little coffee stand. You treat her as an autonomous individual, which means that she will erect boundaries and she will tell you no sometimes, and you will deal with it. Number 2, you do not approach her with a sense of ownership. You approach her as an autonomous person. Number 3, you leave all dealings with her and the other parent out of your hands, mouth, and ears. You do not try to sabotage that relationship with her other parent. Number 4, if your daughter were to come to you about any issues and things that she felt hurt by, you listen. And I understand that a lot of parents, I'm a parent myself, sometimes we step in it and we didn't intend to, but I need to make this abundantly clear. Intention is not the same as impact. So I can not intend to hurt you, and I can still hurt you. So if I discover that I've hurt you, it's on me to say, wow, A, I see how I did this thing, and B, I can see how it hurt you. And the third prong of that apology is changed behavior. Because if I keep seeing, or I keep saying, I see what I did, and I see how that hurt you, and I do nothing to prevent it in the future, we're going on a merry-go-round. The third prong, and I venture to say the most important prong of that apology process, is follow through in changed behavior. So what was that? That is number 4. Number 5, if your daughter goes no contact or low contact, you respect that. You might send one message, say, listen, I understand you want to take some distance. You take all the time you need. I will be here when you're ready. Not relentlessly calling, texting, coming by unannounced. None of that. 6, you repair the relationship you have with your daughter first. Make that your priority. I guarantee you, you fix that, the relationship you have with your grandchildren will undergo a revolutionary metamorphosis. I guarantee it. That's number 6. And number 7, please, for the love of God, leave the fucking flying monkeys alone. The last thing you need to do is enlist a third party who knows nothing about the actual dynamics of the relationship. You don't need that. The only communication you need to do is with your therapist or your daughter. Okay, we're at 20 minutes now. Thank you for listening, guys. Thank you for watching. This is the second part of How to Lose Your Daughter, How to Lose Your Daughter Part 2. Once again, I apologize for if any of this was triggering, but my purpose was to validate you, because for those of you who have walked this walk, who are on this path, you know that this is chances are your mother's done one of these things, if not all. And you probably, like many of us, you have tried to squint, tilt your head, and be like, well, it wasn't that bad. It was that bad. It was that bad. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. Be well. Take care of yourself. Do some yin yoga. Sleep. Take walks in nature. Drink a ton of water. Take your vitamins. Journal. You can do this. Thanks for watching. Oh, there goes my earbud. That's a sign that this has gone on too long. Thank you for watching. Catch you again in the next episode.